Language is acquired because humans have developed since they were born abstract thought, creative thinking, and cognitive skills. So they are deductive since they are born.
And since they are born, they manage to understand that communication was good for survival. Meaning that as they saw something, they started thinking, oh, these things make sound. If I make a sound to say, oh, that's meat, that's going to be good for me and good for the other person. Meaning that they were able to synthesize the outer world and turn it into language. Now turning into our first...
Language, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, is a system of communication. Humans have different capabilities, and nowadays this is known as evolution. Now we don't rely on a soul or intelligence to do so. Now we just rely on communication. A perfect example of this can be in the natural world. As animals that don't have advanced cognitive skills can communicate with each other. That is why we don't believe that there is such a soul. We believe in evolution and in genetics.
Argument, which is basically speaking about how other species works, as we as humans are also an animal species. Other animals, such as dolphins, such as elephants, that have developed language, they manage to do this though with creative thought too. Because think about another creature other than humans that manage to create language and are not as smart as us. That is just not happening. You see the incidents since prehistoric times, the incidents of the modern man when it appeared. At the same time, they managed to write, they managed to make rupestral paintings. Meaning that as soon as they acquired the abstract thought and the creativity skills, which is why I address the paintings, they managed to synthesize the world into language.
I would disagree with myself, as regardless of advanced language being advanced cognitive skills and abstract thought being required for advanced language, there are things that many consider language that are not necessarily as complex as Spanish, English, French, or a dolphin dialect. That example could be seen in birds. Birds make signs when there's nightfall, when they find food in a tree, when they're looking for their mothers, as well for many other birds and as well as many other mammals, and even reptilians such as crocodiles also make sounds to communicate and locate prey in order to get help, as they're not lone fighters. So this could be considered language, as it is a way of communication, so it fulfills the criteria that I stated in the first argument and before. It fulfills the criteria as it makes communication good, and it's still making communication good for survival. Thus, this is language that comes from genetics, does not come from abstract thought. It is a genetic trait that is not the outcome of a synthesis or advanced cognitive skills. It's simply the outcome of perfect nature engineering.
Now, moving on into our second argument, we can also see that all evidence points towards humans learning language and not them being born with it. A great example where we can see this is in the girl in the window case, in which a severely abused child was rescued by police and could not even talk. So we can see that this girl and her inability to talk through neglect and through the lack of social contact gives us a very good standing to see and realize that language is learned rather than acquired through a biological process. What my partner was saying previously is also extremely important. The importance of cognitive thought of abstract thought and the ability to synthesize everything gives us the ability to develop new languages tailored specifically to different regions of the world. That is why we have different languages.
So, according to our last argument, Now we think that it's possible for us to have Plato describe it as a soul because it's a part of us. It can be energy or ideas that is unchangeable, and it can go through many bodies because it's independent from the body. Now we think that this soul is genetics. So yeah, indeed, it can go through many generations and gather many experiences, and of course it develops during time. Yeah, Plato also said that this soul was just us, independent from the body, from our physical appearance.
To synthesize what we said about Plato's understanding of the soul being correlated to our understanding of genetics today, see it as it acquires traits from previous generations. This is something that nature does. It acquires traits that were affected on survival, thus they reproduce more, thus they express themselves in humanity or in any species that is alive today, as it acquired information from previous generation and it is applicable today as a survivally adequate trait. And yeah, but also to counter what Manuel said on the previous debate, the girl that was rescued by the police could also suffer trauma. And as there is many biological processes that can damage the brain and even damage our capability to speak with collagen. Collagen actually makes the brain smaller at a young age, meaning that she could have suffered from that. No, it's a counter argument.
Now, the counter argument to all of
Ya
this,
no hay counter argument. Sí, pero ese es nuestro argumento ahorita.
Right. After this arguing, the counter argument to all of this is René Descartes told us that language and the capability to create it is what separates us from machines. Now, from a biological point of view, around 20,000 years ago, the cognitive revolution started, according to Yuval Noah Harari. However, according to this same social anthropologist, language did not actually take form into what we have seen today and we consider today as spoken language and as complex language until 10,000 years ago. This shows us that there was a 10,000 year development process in which language had to be created, had to be fine-tuned, and had to be expanded in order to fit our criteria of modern language.
Yeah, let's move on to the conclusion. Ahí está.
Humans are born with the need to communicate things, so they give meaning to many things. They developed how to tell to the other humankind, and they develop a system which is called language, that many human beings, they will know the meaning of a thing, and they will communicate the idea that they want to get.
They want to communicate something. And even if we were going to think that there was an acquirement, a biological acquirement that is a biological trait, we as a team would rather argue that this biological trait would be the desire of communication, not the communication itself, which is also derived from abstract thought and creative thinking. Thank you very much.
Sorry for that, that was my bad.
Right, so in conclusion, what we can very clearly see is that even though there are valid arguments on both sides, today we have been able to determine quite certainly that we have the innate ability to communicate, and that this is, according to their definitions placed in our first debate, counting or being sufficiently complex to count as language, since there were actually no standards placed for that. So we can see that the fact that animals and other things that just do not have cognitive reasoning can develop certain types of languages tells us that we have an innate ability, even if it's just a very primitive baseline, that it still constitutes itself as language.